Welcome to Cross Border Interviews, the show where we dive into the insights of municipal political leaders from across Canada. Now, our mission on this show is quite simple: shine a light on the dedicated individuals who day in and day out work around the council table to shape the communities that we call home. And for today's episode, we are heading to Bonnyville, Alberta to sit down with Bonnyville Councillor Kayla Blanchette. Bonnyville is a great place to work, play, and raise a family. It provides the perfect mix of community services through health, education, recreation, and cultural facilities. The economy is growing and expanding faster than the provincial average, creating employment opportunities in construction, oil and gas, as well as retail sales. As a major service area, the town serves more than 10,000 people. Bonnyville is the hub for oil and gas industry, with over 60 national and international companies setting up head offices within the community. Surrounded by lakes and majestic boreal forests, Bonnyville offers visitors and local treasure troves of natural wonders. So stick with us, as this is Cross Border Interviews. From the smallest village to the largest city, across every region of the province, Alberta Municipalities represents the communities where over 85% of Albertans live. AB Munis provides a united voice for 265 of Alberta's 330 municipalities, including summer villages, towns, cities, and specialized municipalities. As Alberta's largest municipal group, AB Munis listens to municipal leaders and advocates for solutions to their common issues. Additionally, AB Munis supports local governments by providing services specially designed to meet their operational needs. And they bring their members together regularly so they can share ideas and information so that their communities can thrive. Check out Alberta Municipalities at abmunis.ca and follow them on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, now called X. Councillor, thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking about yourself and talking about the great town of Bonnyville, Alberta. But before we talk about the town and the challenges and the accomplishments, I want to talk about you, because I know politicians like to talk, but they don't often like to talk about themselves. So let's talk about you for a few minutes. And I got to start with a very simple question, asked it to all my guests, so you're no exception. Where did your sense of duty to serve your community come from, Kayla?
If I looked back, 5, 10 years, I would never have anticipated myself finding my way into politics. Not something that I ever dreamed of. But you know what? During the COVID-19 pandemic, something that was quite prominent in my area of the province was how divided my community was. So election time 2021 rolled around, and I decided to run for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted to be a leader that brought our community back together rather than dividing them further. And secondly, I looked at the list of nominees, and I didn't put my nomination papers in until right down to the wire, basically. But I looked, and we had quite a high council turnover last term. We had several councillors who had served the municipality for many, many terms, so they were going into retirement. We had one councillor that had put her name forward as mayor, and of course was successful. So we did have a high council turnover. So when I looked at the list of nominees, it's very, very, it was an anomaly to see 13 candidates on the ballot in 2021 in the town of Bonnyville. Before I decided to put my name forward, there was not a single female on that ballot. And at the time, I have 2 kids, but my daughter specifically, she wasn't quite 2. And, I just looked at her innocent little face and I went, how can I tell you that you can do anything in the world, but I'm scared to put my name forward for something just because I'm a woman? And I felt, maybe I was underqualified or what have you. But that was one of the drives, was that I wanted to 50% of the population are women. 50% of politicians are certainly not women. We're not represented in that world quite often. So that was one of my forces to get my name in there.
I think the Federation of Canadian Municipalities just put out a survey or a report on that. And I think, and if I'm doing my math here correctly, if I'm remembering correctly, not doing my math here correctly, I think it's 30% of elected officials municipally are women in today's world. Now, I'm going to ask it's going to come off as a very rude question, but I'm going to ask it in a way that it's going to try not to come off rude. So I apologize. Did you run just because you were a woman, or did you run because you had ideas?
No, I ran like I said. I definitely felt that our community was divided, and I felt that I had the personality. My a few of my friends have said that one of my superpowers is connection with people. And I felt that during that pivotal time in our communities, in our province, our country, and even internationally, we needed people that would bring people together rather than drive them further apart. And I'll tell you, I live in beautiful Bonnyville, Alberta, but we did have a very divided community at that time. And no, so I didn't just run because I was a woman, but I definitely ran because I thought that I brought a unique perspective and just that personality that just brings people together rather than driving them apart.
But why council? Because you could have helped unify the community through nonprofits, through volunteerism, but at the end of the day, you thought your best service of unifying that community. And let's be honest, in 2021, and I'm not trying to say only Bonnyville went through some bad things during that time, but other communities were divided as well. What was going on in your life to say, okay, if I'm going to help bring this community together, I need to be on council? Was it just that you were a people pleaser and you were able to bring people together, or was there also issues that you saw we need to get this done in the community? And I think that my background, my experience, my ability to connect with people will help deliver the Bonnyville that my daughter could be proud of when she's 18 and wants to go off to college and come back.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that I came in with an agenda by any means.
Good.
Actually, I was actually asked in the public forum, what is your agenda? What is something that you want when you get in? And I was quite frank with everyone. I said, I don't know that anybody can actually be true to themselves when they come into this role and actually have an agenda. You are one voice out of, I know my council is a council of 7, including the mayor. I'm one voice out of all of them. We're a team. We would have to have a unified vision if we wanted to drive this community forward. So I didn't come in with an agenda. I simply just wanted to see the community move into the future. I wanted to see growth. I wanted this community to be something that generations after me are proud of. And I did feel that, I grew up in Bonnyville. I'm raising my family here. I was going to school to be a social worker. I'm still enrolled in school. Those are things that I think were great characteristics of a counselor, someone who's rooted here, someone who just sees the future and wants to drive that forward. And I think I just felt that I was the person to do that,
Now, the
or
last
one
four
of the
years,
people to do that.
or what exactly? Because you're not a council of one. Because I'm assuming there's a few councilors around your table saying, "What is she saying? She's the only one who's helped out." We've all done that. Um,
They've all done their part, and we're a great team. I have to give credit to all other 6 voices around this table. We are a unified team. I truly don't think that my first term would be what it was without those other 6 voices.
I want to talk about the role of council for a second and the role of counselor because you're right. During 2021, as I said, there was a very divided time. But if you have not come to the realization, I'm about to burst your bubble as much as I can on this show. Your decisions that you make at the council table are not universally loved. Not all of them are going to be 100% agreed upon by every single person in your community. I guarantee you, if I walked to Bonnyville, or not walk, drove to Bonnyville tomorrow and I said the sky is blue, there will be someone who says, no, the sky is aquamarine, because that's the way that we live. We live in a very colorful world, as we would say. How have you been able to make the hard decisions, knowing that some people are just going to be upset with you? And at the end of the day, you have to make the best decision for the community and not just for the individual.
Yeah, that was something that I really needed to wrap my head around at the beginning. Of course, you come in and you want to make everyone happy. You recognize that you are a voice for everyone, regardless of what your personal beliefs are. You need to do what's right for the community. But of course, you don't want to upset people. You don't want to get the angry phone calls. Um, I think one of my pivotal moments was realizing I need to stay out of the Facebook comment section. And that seems like such a small thing, but when I live in a community of just under 7,000 people. I would say that I know most people within the community. The Facebook comments are basically where you see a lot of the frank, candid opinions. So I guess I need to stay out of the Facebook comments, but also recognize that area of the world just represents a very small fraction of those that I represent. I'm never going to make everyone happy, but we need to just look at the community as a whole, see what's best for the community, and drive that forward. And I think that two things are, I mean, that's one thing, but the second thing is recognize that I'm one of seven. And as long as we remain one unified voice, recognizing that we were elected to make decisions for the community. And remember that that's how democracy works. There's a reason why us seven people were put in these chairs. It was because we were seen as being the best choice to move Bonnyville forward. I think that remains in the back of my mind always when sometimes you have those moments where you question yourself.
Can I challenge you a little bit on that for a second?
Sure, of course.
Because understandable, the seven people, and you had no say in who the people of Bonnyville would have elected, because that's democracy. You get put with seven people who may come from all different backgrounds. And around that council table, there are going to be difference of opinions of how the community moves forward. But if you go out to the community, there's going to be 7,000 other different opinions of how the community goes forward. And it's a question that I think a lot of council candidates, and particularly at this time when we're running in a municipal election, there's a lot of candidates who step forward and say, I'm going to do this. Who wins at the ultimate end of the day? Because you're there to represent the people who've elected you and the people who have not elected you. And we all have our own internal moral compass of what we believe is right and wrong. But you can't not listen to the people, because those are the people who have elected you to do what you're doing. So for yourself, and I say this as just you, not the entire council, but for you, who wins in that internal struggle? Is it always Kayla, or is it always the people of Bonnyville, or is it a mix of both?
I think that every time I put my hand up and I vote for something in council chambers, I need to be able to sleep at night as well.
Does it get easier?
Sorry?
Does it get easier to sleep at night when you have to make those tough decisions after 4 years?
I think it does for sure. Something that our council has, I mean, from the very beginning, we set our vision. Every decision that we made here was always data driven, basically. We made informed decisions. We engaged with the public. Many of our projects that we have underway underwent significant public engagement. So we've done our due diligence in making decisions around this table. And I need to remind myself that when you get that negative comment or, someone who doesn't agree, I need to also say, did you come out and have your voice heard when we asked for your opinion? And sometimes they say yes, and oftentimes they say no, because you don't hear from people. I've realized in this role, you don't hear from people quite often when they're happy, but you sure hear from them when they're upset.
And it's it's more reactive that you're hearing from them as well, because and this is the part where I often get accused of being anti-resident, but I'm not. People are busy. People are doing their day-to-day life. They've elected you to make those tough decisions. Yes, they're going to be reactive. But how important is it for yourself to listen to those reactions? Because you can't just brush them off and say, okay, you had your chance. You just have to live with it now. How important is it for you to listen to the people who are reacting to the decisions you make, so that way they feel like they're being at least heard somewhere?
Yeah, it's always important. I ran in 2021, and one of my commitments was listening and learning. And it doesn't stop when a decision gets made. I continue to listen and learn throughout the process because I'm always learning. I live. I think Tyler Gandam and I, you know, that he and I are good friends. You never want to feel like you are the smartest person in the room. He says that, and if you feel like you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So that's where I'm at. I continue to listen and learn throughout. I may think that I have the answer, but then someone will get me at a left field and I go, oh, I never thought of that. And I'm humbled sometimes. But I mean, that's the name of the game, right? Yes, we're here and we're making decisions, and yes, we are trying to please everyone, but sometimes you just can't, and you just need to listen and be humbled sometimes.
You talked at the beginning of the interview about unifying the community after a tumultuous few years of COVID. I know it's I'm going to be talking about the upcoming election here in a few minutes, but I'm going to ask a very pointed question at this point because we're at the end of your 4-year term. Do you feel like your community is more united than it was back in 2021 when you first got elected?
I do. I definitely think that there's still some divisiveness out there, especially when you look at the world. And I definitely don't want to get into this, but when you look at the idea of separatism and whatnot, there is that divisiveness out there. It's not around COVID anymore. It's, other ideas. But I
There's
think
always
that
something, right? There's always
yes,
something
there
that's
there
going to
is
divide
truly,
people.
truly. But I think that one of the things that myself and other counselors around our table have really been good at is showing up for our community.
Yeah.
We I can probably count on one hand how many community events that we've been invited to as a council, and I myself as a counselor haven't been able to attend. I try and be out there and show like I'm here for you. I'm here. I'm listening. I want to be out here and cultivating and maintaining all those relationships that I've built throughout this term. I do feel like we've brought the community together, and I think that we're leading by example, just being out there, being a part of the community. One of the things that, and this seems like the silliest thing, but someone said to me and it stuck with me, when you guys go out to an event, they said, you guys are up and you're dancing and you're just one of us. You're not just a dignitary that shows up, takes a picture and leaves. Like you're there and you're with us. And I think that as silly as that sounds, I think that that's important because at the end of the day, we are just people. We're part of this community. We want the community to be vibrant and beautiful and just like where we want to be and where we want to raise our families and where we want other people to feel the same. So yeah, I do feel like we've moved the needle and made people come together.
So my final question in this segment is kind of a personal one, but gotta ask it because I like to learn a little bit more about you in this way, and then we're going to turn to the town of Bonnyville as a whole and some of the challenges. Now, the role of council, I'm going to break some people's minds here right now as I say this, is not a full-time job. You do not get paid full-time hours, but you are expected to work full-time hours, if even more than double full-time hours, because you're constantly on the go. You're out in the community. The moment you step out of your house, you are a counselor. No matter where you are, in the grocery store, at a restaurant, at the bank, you're a counselor. Now, that means your personal life is no longer personal, it is very public. Now, you have a young daughter, you have a young family. Has the family life and the public life of being a counselor folded in nicely together, or are you still trying to navigate being mom, being wife, being counselor at the same time?
Yeah, my life has definitely changed over the last 4 years. And I will say that being a counselor probably has had a significant impact on that. I started out, I have two kids. I have a 14-year-old son, Parker, and I have an almost 6-year-old daughter, Amelia. I always say that I am a mom first, no matter what. I also say in the same breath that I never have the benefit of taking off my counselor hat when it does not suit me. I'm always a face of the town of Bonnyville. I always have to conduct myself accordingly. Definitely, it has been I would say a significant 4 years of my life. I've navigated a tumultuous divorce over those 4 years. I've been going to school. I've been raising a family all within the public eye. And so I would say that being a counselor has added that extra layer of um, you constantly feel as though people are watching. So you have to conduct yourself accordingly. You know, my divorce finalized in the last few weeks, and I think something that
First off, I'm gonna just break in right now because I feel horrible because I did not know this. I
it's fine.
apologize immensely that we brought this up, but I'm just gonna
No,
try
it's
and
fine.
I'm gonna bring it back to the kids for a second because
Sure.
I've heard a few times from different counselors, mayors from across Canada that whenever their kids find out that their mom or dad has some role of importance in the community, they use that like there's no tomorrow. Have you ever heard your son or daughter say, "Well, my mom's a counselor, so I could do what I want in school," or "My mom's a counselor, so I get to open up the parks whenever I want"? Or are they respectful of mom's ability to be a
They are
counselor?
very, very respectful children. I will say that one of my friends' kids who's friends with my son, 3 years ago, I think he said someone was complaining about something in town. He said, "Yeah, well, my friend's mom, she's a counselor. Like her name is Kayla Blanchette. Have you ever heard of her? I just slept over at her house." Like it. So it's really funny how kids see that, but yeah, no,
How much does your son and daughter know about land use bylaws by now?
you know what? Um, they have heard, I'm sure, like my kids are gonna grow up and just be like, my mom talked about the most boring stuff when we were kids. Uh, like, but it's true, like land use, community
Wastewater
standards.
treatment facilities, sewers, woo, the things that really get kids excited in the morning.
I learned what that stormwater was rain. Like, yeah,
Oh.
yeah, it's funny.
I want to turn to the town of Bonnyville as a whole. And before I do that, I just have a quick sort of rant that I need to get off my chest before we go a little bit further. This is a conversation between the counselor and myself. This is not a motion of council, not a direction of council, not even a policy of council. This is the counselor's opinion and her opinion alone. Now, it may line up with what's going on at council, but at the end of the day, she needs a majority of council members to vote in favor or against any motion, policy, or bylaw to direct administration to do something or not to do something. So, again, this is her opinion and her opinion alone. I should also mention, because it is a municipal election, the counselor has announced that she is running for re-election. And for anyone who is running for re-election or election in Bonnyville and wants to be featured on this show or our sister shows, Municipal Affairs, please reach out to us and we'll gladly have you on because we want to give equal time to everyone who is running in this important upcoming election. I had to add that second part. It's the first time I had to do that. It's very weird.
Very
Counselor,
good.
in your opinion, as of recording this at the beginning of August 2025, what do you see as the biggest challenge or challenges facing the town of Bonnyville today?
Hmm. It's a loaded question.
It's
Um,
a loaded political show.
yeah. Um, I think that one of the challenges that we've faced over the last 4 years is that, of course, mitigating that boom and bust cycle in our world. Um, I think that, they say give us one more boom and we won't waste it. Give
Didn't
us
we
one
say
more
that the
boom
last
and we
time?
yeah, exactly. So something that we've navigated here at the town over the last 4 years, we made economic development a priority for and I'm sure many other communities have made the exact same priority and we're all chasing the same thing. Um I would say that remains a challenge. We completed a economic development strategy, struck a committee, working on getting some new development within town. We haven't had a house. I mean, we have houses under construction right now. We haven't had a house constructed in many, many years in the town of Bonnyville. So something that we actually did over the last year was we created incentive programs for both residential and commercial to get some development within the town of Bonnyville, get some growth. And then we've been chasing, like I said, we've set up our economic development strategy, chasing downtown revitalization and whatnot. I think that growth, it remains a challenge here, and we just need we need to get, we need to just reel in a couple, and I think that more will come. But we need to remember that we are an
So
oil and
can I
gas
just
town.
clarify something for a second? Because if I'm asking the question, I'm assuming maybe other people might be thinking the same thing. When you say attract more, are you talking about attract more developers, attract more businesses, attract everything all under the umbrella? Because I say this because I just did research on Bonnyville, and on your website, you say you are the hub of your area. You have a feeder community of 10,000 people. You have 60 national and international oil and gas companies that are in your community. You have a thriving downtown. You have a thriving economic hub. So I'm just circle the square for me for a second, because I might have to go re-record the introduction if you're telling me something different than the town of Bonnyville's website was telling me.
No, what I'm referring to is attracting more business into the
Okay.
town of Bonnyville. Yeah, and then so when you look at us being an oil and gas town, we're also, um, of course, we have new residents come in and they come for work. And one of our goals here is to not only have people come for work, but to come and lay roots and stay. Well, with that, and in my other role as the president of the Family and Community Support Services Association of Alberta,
Which
I
anyone who
see
wants to look at a past episode, you should go check out FCSS in your municipality here on Municipal Affairs on the Cross Border Network. Continue on.
what a plug. What a plug. I recognize that when we attract those families into our communities, we need to have the supports for them to have them integrate into our community, find their support networks, all of those things that makes this not only a place where they're coming to work and earn a living, but to really thrive as community members and want to stay and make Bonnyville a long-term home. So I say this all the time, and it may be because I'm a mom or I see things from a different lens. But when you see these families come in and we see, yeah, we've got population growth and we're seeing folks come into Bonnyville. Yeah, well, do we have daycare? Do we have the parks and the amenities that all of those? I think of like the stay-at-home moms. Dad goes to work and mom's at home with the kids. What is there for them to do? So there, I mean, growth is, multi-layered, and we need to make sure that we're recognizing that, and we're seeing that.
But growth is a
And then
double-edged sword, though. Growth is a very double-edged sword because, again, going back to our original conversation at the beginning of the interview, there's never going to be 100% of the people who agree on issues. And there are some people, and I'm not pointing names because I don't know them, but I guarantee you there's some people in Bonnyville who say, I don't want the town to grow. I like the way it is. I like the fact that I know all 7,000 people who live in the town of Bonnyville. I love the fact when I walk down the street, I will see John, or I will see Helen, or I will see X, Y, or Z person, because that's what Bonnyville is. The dependence of growth is you grow, you bring in more economic dollars, which means property taxes are going to go lower. So it is a double-edged sword. So how do you grow Bonnyville sustainably so people feel like it's not the next, and I'm not picking on this community for those who are about to send very nasty emails, please don't. I'm just picking a neighboring community. How do you ensure that Bonnyville doesn't become the next Cold Lake?
we work very, very well with our municipal partners in Cold Lake. In fact, we are hosting the 2026 winter games as a region in partnership with Cold Lake, the MD of Bonnyville, and the Village of Glendon. So we are not picking on Cold Lake today.
I'm just saying because I just recently sat down with a mayoral candidate there, and she talked about the crime challenges that because of growth that they're seeing, the infrastructure challenges that they're seeing. So, it's just top of mind. So again, I could have picked on Edmonton, I could have picked on Calgary. It was top of mind. So I apologize to the people of Cold Lake, your beautiful community. I can't wait to visit you later on this.
Yeah, so like I said at the beginning, when we are planning for the future of Bonnyville and we're looking at this growth, it is multifaceted. We're looking at the growth, but then we need to look at what are the outcomes of that growth?
Yeah.
What are the needs of the community infrastructure wise, recreation, land use planning, etc. So we need to just have all of those different plans looked at as a whole rather than one off. We don't work in silos, right? And I think that we have something that we have at the town of Bonnyville is a really, really amazing staff and administration who, I will say this till the day I die, as a council, we expect our administration to always have our backs, right? And bring us really great information to make decisions with. And I very, very much feel that how can we expect them to have our backs if we don't have theirs? So at the town, we very, very much work hand in hand with our administration. We have great relationship day to day with all of them. So yeah, they've got their ducks in a row here at the town, and they bring us great information to make great decisions for the future.
You talked about a very big macro issue, economic development growth, and that is a very macro issue that the town encompasses, and that's what they have to focus on. But I'm not even going to imagine. I know that there's going to be 7,000 different opinions on the very micro issues. The pothole that's in front of my house, the park that needs upgrading, the sidewalks that need to be cleared. And as we're going into snow removal season, the sidewalks that need to be cleared more often. Those micro issues may seem micro, but to the people who have those issues, they are the biggest issues that are going on in their lives. Do you believe, and I say this as councillor, not speaking for council as a whole, do you believe that the town of Bonnyville is able to balance the macro issues with the micro issues, the individual issues? Because you only have a limited supply of money. Unfortunately, as many people may think, municipalities cannot run deficits. They have to balance their budgets every year. It is legally mandated that municipalities have to balance their budgets. So that means some people's issues are just not going to be resolved. So with the money you have, do you feel like you're able to balance those macro issues with the individual issues?
I really do think that we are. And people feel heard. And something that I used to kind of tiptoe around this, and I wouldn't necessarily be as bold and say this at the beginning of my term. But now, if someone comes to me with one of those micro issues, and I'll use the issue of snow removal, for example, something that we did this year or this term was we passed our snow removal policy to set service levels and priority focus areas throughout the town, because snow removal is a hot button topic. And when you live in Alberta and 8 to 9 months of the year you have snow on the ground, that's something you need to focus on. But someone once said to me, well, why doesn't my street get plowed right away? I live on whatever street and I should be getting a plow. And I looked at them and I said, we can get you a plow. We can get you a plow anytime the flake falls. But you tell me what service that you don't want us to provide, because the cost of snow removal is going to far outweigh what we can afford to do. So you tell me what service that we currently provide that you don't want anymore. And they're quick to realize that.
Yeah.
They're quick to realize that, oh yeah, I guess, all these recreation facilities and a pool and, doing infrastructure, the underground infrastructure that people don't see, but they would sure know it's not there if it's not working. They don't recognize all of those things, right? Like you said, issues are they become big issues for folks that don't see the full picture.
The
So
for
you just, I mean, as I've been humbled my term, sometimes you just need to humble people and you know, do some education.
the best line I ever heard around that scenario is from the mayor of the township of Gore in Quebec. And he told me point blank, he said, if the federal government closes its doors and goes on strike, you won't notice right away. You'll probably notice in a few months, probably like a few weeks, depending on if you want your passport. If the provincial government does it, you'll probably notice within a few days. If the municipalities go on strike and close up shop, you'll notice within an hour, if not when you go to turn on your water, because that's what the services that you provide. They're the closest to the
Yeah,
people. They are the government of
yeah.
proximity. And they're the ones who
Mhm.
usually get the downloaded responsibilities onto them. So I completely agree with you.
100%. And you know, when you think about and this makes me think of when you talk about other levels of government, well, you know, we pay taxes to every other level of government, but you know what? We raise taxes 2% in the town of Bonnyville and we hear about it the next day.
But it's not even that
And
you raise
we
the tax
hear
the
about it.
2%, it's you raise taxes 1%, and then the educational portion of the property taxes goes up as well. And then you have to take responsibility for what the province has downloaded upon you.
Exactly.
For those in the
Yep.
province who are listening to this and are about to say, Chris, you're sparking up the same tree over and over again, do your damn job. Pardon my French. Okay. With that being said, I wanted to flip the original question on its head a bit because I don't want people to think that Bonnyville is just about issues. You have some good things going for you. You have some accomplishments that you are probably proud about. And I want to ask, what makes you proud about the town of Bonnyville? What's the thing that you get up and you say, you know what, we have our issues, but we have X going for us? What's the X factor that makes Bonnyville Bonnyville?
I'm sure that everyone says this, but it's truly the people. I love our community so, so much. Something that is unique when we and I'll take you back. We were as you can see behind me, the beautiful sign that just went up last week. We rebranded the town of Bonnyville this term. That was something one of the projects that this council really wanted to do was rebrand. It was overdue, hadn't been done I think since the 90s. So during that time, we went through this public engagement process. It was a creative process, but it really had us look at what our community is. And it really came down to the people was something that was really prominent that came out. So we're neighborly, we're friendly, entrepreneurial, etc. The community spirit in the town of Bonnyville is amazing, whether it's good or bad. Like I said, we are hosting the Winter Games in 2026. We people are Bonnyville will be everywhere. Then we also in bad times, if someone's facing a crisis or our community comes together and they show up, I just love the people of the town of Bonnyville. Um, Flipping it to projects that I'm very proud of this term. The rebrand is definitely one that I'm really proud of. And Chris, when you come up to visit, you'll see that we have Jesse Lake on the south side of town, and Jesse Lake has a green space that goes all along Lakeshore Drive surrounding Jesse Lake. We made that a priority this term to have a recreation master plan for Jesse Lake, which will it's underway and starting to be developed. We've got 5 phases because it is a beautiful green space that we wanted to make use of. And when we were talking with the consultants here in council chambers and they said, you know, what is your vision? One of the things that I said was, I really want that space to be thought of as everyone's backyard where there's something for everyone along that space. So yeah, I'm really excited about that project. We just had our emergency services. That's a regional partnership between us and the MD of Bonnyville. We just had our emergency services, all 3 divisions, EMS, 911, and fire, all housed under one roof now, just outside of town limits in the MD of Bonnyville. So that one I'm really excited to see them get a new home. We've had a lot of things happening this term, and I mean a rebrand and maybe the Jesse Lake master plan, it doesn't look like much. I think that just I also say we were a council of doing studies and educating ourselves and making plans for the future. And I'm not done yet. I want to see those things through.
Well, that is a good transition to my next question because, as I mentioned, you have announced that you are running for re-election. Why? Very simple. What made you
I'm not
decide
done.
after 4 years you're going to do it for another four?
Yeah, I'm not done yet. I this is the best job I've ever had. And I truly enjoy coming to this building or wherever I'm working in the community on any given day. It never feels like work. Even when you get that weird initiation when you first get elected and you're like told you have to pass this budget that you had no say in and you've never looked at a municipal budget before in your entire life. I even loved that. Like, but it truly is. I love this job so, so much. I love that our council has been, we've all got our passions around this table and we've all been so supportive of one another. I'm so thankful that when I came to my 6 colleagues and I said, I'm thinking of running for president of the FCSS Association, and they got behind me 1,000% and said, you do it. I did that. They've been so supportive. I'm excited that the 2025 capital budget for the town had a new home for our family and community support services program in that budget, well overdue within the town. So I'd love to see that project through and see them get into a new home. Yeah, I'm really not done. I need another term around this table to continue, driving change and building Bonnyville. I really would love to see us as a council together again, for tomorrow.
That's democracy, though. You don't get to choose. You have your wishes, but at the end of the day, it's in the voters' hands if they decide to put
Well,
all of you back in.
I do say, I would love to be around this table with all of them, but I will take, you
Just
remember
yourself
that
around the table.
I remember that you don't have to vote for 6 candidates on that ballot. You do only have to check one, and I'd be happy to take that vote. So
That's a subtle plug right there. I want to turn to my last two questions, and it's the first one is more a personal question, and it's for myself because as I mentioned to you off the before the interview started, I'm coming up to Bonnyville. I'm coming up to Bonnyville this month in August, and that means I am a tourist to your great community. What should I see? What should I do? What should I experience? Or what's coming up in the town of Bonnyville that is a major event that you need people to understand? You've talked about the Winter Games, but what are the festivals that come up during the fall that you need people to show up and see?
well, you asked the right person because I actually this council we struck a committee, the events committee for the town, because this council came in and they said, "What if we did this? What if we did this? What if we did this?" And so we struck a committee, the events committee, and we plan several events throughout the year. We just wrapped up Canada Day, of course, which is one of our largest events. It was amazing. We had Charlie Major as our headliner, and that drew a ton of people into our community. But coming up here, leading up into the fall, we've got the fall fair out at the Ag Grounds. We've got a beautiful, beautiful golf course just outside town. Several tournaments happening, scrambles, etc. But it's a really, really beautiful course. I encourage people to partake in that and check out the like I said, the Jesse Lake plan, our new park for phase 1 of that project should be opening here towards the end of summer. So that'll be great to see. But we have so many great, restaurants in town, and just participate in the hospitable folks that make Bonnyville what it is.
I can't wait to come visit and explore Bonnyville for what it is and see the golf course up close and personal because I'll be meeting with the mayor, the councillor. Sorry, I just gave you a job promotion. I'm not sure why, but
She'll be with me. She'll love it.
the mayor and councillor on the golf course when I'm up there. But my last question, and it's the $1 million question. I need you to basically wrap up and encompass the last 45 minutes into as long as you need. But what makes the town of Bonnyville such a unique place to live, to work, and to raise a family?
Yeah, so something that you'll come into the town of Bonnyville, and no matter where you go, you'll find a friendly face who says, "Hi, who are you? Where are you from?" And you'll make a friend. And I mean, if it's me, you'll meet me at the coffee shop downtown, and I'll be your best friend forever. But the people make Bonnyville what it is. It's easy to come in here and lay roots. Um, our slogan is North of Expected. That was part of our rebranding project. And I know that when people, when that branding project was done, they were like, North of Expected, what does that mean? And the way that I explain it is we're exceeding expectations in the town of Bonnyville. You come into Bonnyville and you see just this small Alberta town, and just stay a while and get to know everybody, and you see all of the beautiful things that we have to offer. You can go anywhere and find something. There's so much to do. There's the rec center, and there's all of the parks and the museum and the golf course, and you'll make a friend no matter where you go. And you know, if you are lucky enough to stay and live here, you'll make a living and you can have a beautiful home because house prices are low. But I'm just rambling on and on because I just love this town so much. It's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to come and just and stay a while.
Counselor, that was the best way to end off this interview. I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, Kayla, for sitting down, chatting with me. I'm looking forward to connecting while I'm up in Bonnyville later this month. But thank you so much for me, for my listeners, for letting us inside the mind of a counselor in Bonnyville, Alberta. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Cross Border Interviews. Now, we hope you've enjoyed today's conversation and gained some valuable insights into the world of municipal politics here in the province of Alberta and the town of Bonnyville, Alberta. Now, this show couldn't happen without your support. So if you can, share this episode with your friends, your family, and yes, even your community, and help keep the conversation going. To catch up on past episodes or to watch future episodes, be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platforms or by visiting us on YouTube at Cross Border Network. You can stay up to date and catch past episodes of this great show. So until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll be back with a brand new episode of Cross Border Interviews next week. Till then, everyone.